Four uses of the word discipline. This Greek word that is translated as discipline, it's used in four different kind of categories throughout the New Testament. Real briefly, there's personal discipline. One of the texts on the screen is 1 Corinthians 9. We must run the race of this life with personal discipline. The second is parental discipline, okay? Ephesians 6, for instance, says that parents ought to raise their children in the discipline or the instruction, it's the same word there, of the Lord. There's also church discipline. In 1 Thessalonians 5, church leaders are told to warn those who are undisciplined. And then lastly, there's divine discipline, which is what we're going to talk about today. We do not have time at all to cover the first three. We're only going to talk about this fourth kind of discipline, the kind of discipline that the Heavenly Father gives to His children. So let's start by talking about what do we mean when we use the word discipline? What comes to your mind when I say discipline? What comes to your mind? Your mind, okay, so somebody said punishment. Your mind went in one of two different directions. Someone over here mentioned one. One side is punishment. Some of you thought of training. There's two different ways that we mean that word discipline. So perhaps your mind went, like someone mentioned over here, perhaps your mind went to the idea of punishment, of reprimanding, of being grounded, of being scolded or finger pointing, or maybe even physical punishment of spanking or that kind of thing. I want you to know that when God disciplines His children, it is never punitive. We'll get to that. It's always restorative, it's correcting, and it's used in a different way. So again, your mind either went to punishment or it went to training. You're training for a discipline. You are disciplining yourself in a certain way to learn a certain skill, to become more fluent in something or another. Once again, in the Bible, when God disciplines us, it is never punitive for believers. God does not discipline us. He does not beat us down. He trains us up, in other words. In fact, here's a few different ways the word discipline, that Greek word paiduo, is translated in the New Testament. So some is punishment, again, in a corrective sense. Otherwise, it's translated as discipline. Sometimes training, correcting, learning, instructing, educating. It is, and the thrust behind this text is training. Look at verse number 11 of Hebrews 12. Discipline produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been, what's the next word? For those who have been trained by it. God uses discipline as a way to train us so that we can become more righteous.